Welcome. This is See Your Baby Daddy with Single Mom Attorney. For those of y'all who don't follow me, I am a family law attorney, and we take cases in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, and San Antonio area, and we only do family law. So if you have a custody dispute, child support, divorce, that is our bread and butter. But we mainly deal with a lot of custody disputes because we really only market to women. And so here we are. Today is our first podcast episode, and as my guest, I have one of my attorneys that works for the firm. She primarily takes cases in the Houston and San Antonio area right now, right, Brooke?
Yes, I do. Hello.
How are you doing today? How have the clients been treating you this week?
Really good. Hello, all my clients, if you're watching this. They've been keeping me super busy.
Love
it's really
that.
good.
Love that. Any funny stories this week or just...
You know, it's Wednesday, it's flying by, so not off the top of my head, but I'm sure some will come to me.
I love that. Well, I mean, the idea here is that we're going to be reading some Reddit posts and just giving some legal insight, along with just our personal experiences as attorneys. And, you know, one of the things that I really enjoyed doing whenever we were first launching our social media was just going live on TikTok. And I feel like so many people had really good questions. But I guess this way we can keep it intriguing with the anonymous submissions. So... all right, let's just jump into it. So the first one is somebody that wants some new partner advice. So she said, hoping for some advice or hearing how you've handled introducing a new partner to your kiddos. My ex-husband and I had a very amicable divorce. We communicate and co-parent very well. We have been divorced almost 3 years. We have 2 kiddos, an 8-year-old and a 7-year-old. They are with me most of the time. He has them every Thursday through Sunday. I've been dating a new partner for about 3 months. We are both late 30s, advanced degree professionals, know what we want, no BS kind of people. I know in my heart that his relationship is a long-term thing with the probability of marriage. I guess when you know, you just know. I'd like to start working towards him being around the kids, but how early is too early? Dating as a single parent is such a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation. That is so true. I don't want to introduce them too early, but at the same time, if the kids don't jive with him, it's a moot point. Also a good point. I could never be with someone who doesn't click with my kids. And to be clear, he has not pressured me to meet the kids. In fact, he said, I will be as patient as I need to be. I'm not going anywhere. So at what point did you introduce? What would you change if you could? That's a really good submission.
I like that one. This is good. This is a lot to unpack here.
You know, and I feel like this topic comes up more in the midst of a divorce. So this one's interesting because she's saying that they've already divorced, she's dating somebody new, and then she feels like it's getting really serious, and she's like, when you know, you know. We have a lot of cases where it becomes more of an issue when they're dating the new partner in the middle of a divorce, right? So it's like, divorces don't just happen from one day to the next. Life is happening. Maybe your ex-husband is already dating somebody new. And then now the question is like, how soon is too soon to introduce a child to the new partner? And what we see frequently is a morality clause, right? So do you want to tell them a little bit about what that is?
In any sort of order, whenever you're going to discuss dating or I'll preface this and back up and say, the Texas Family Code doesn't really specify, hey, when can you date somebody?
Right.
You should date them like this. This is the list of the person you are only allowed to date. I'm with the position, good, they shouldn't. Stay out of it, legislator. Don't tell me what to do. But but whenever you go and consult with an attorney, we talk a lot about being creative with the orders and changing them.
Like on a temporary basis, kind of say, hey, I think that because it's just up in the air, the divorce hasn't been finalized, we need to set some boundaries. And I think that this is more common when there's a revolving door. So some divorces, they last longer than what we would hope, but it just becomes a social norm between the partners that, you know, I know he's dating somebody, he knows I'm dating somebody, and then it's not really an issue. But when we have a situation where the partners have separated and then, you know, now dad wants to bring a new bimbo around after 2 weeks of like, hey, we just filed a divorce petition, like that can become an issue. And also somewhat of like an emotional strain on the children as well. Like, hey, like you were just with my mom a month ago, and then now I'm meeting this new chick that you're saying is your friend, but you and I both know she's not, right? So that's when you really start seeing the morality clauses pop up. But I also think, you know, in her case where they've already been divorced and then now she's dating somebody new, she's like, you know, how early is too early? I think it really just depends on the person that you're dating too.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, in her case, she's saying that when you know, you know. Okay, great. I love the point that she made where she's like, if they don't jive, like, it's a moot point. And I think that if I was in this situation and I wanted to see how he jived, like, with my child, I would kind of be of the notion like, okay, well, maybe he just starts seeing the child like when he picks me up for a date, right? So it's like, hey, this is my kid, like, whatever. And so that way it's not like I'm expecting him to spend time with my child, because I also think that, in today's world, that's where the concern is. That's why this question is probably even being raised.
For sure.
But also because it's just like, if I was in that situation, I would be like, okay, well, is he going to be like, oh, hey, buddy, good to meet you, and my kid's going to be like accepting of him? Or is he going to be like, oh, hey, cool, like, nice to meet you? Like, that to me would be a red flag. Like, you have no interest in, just giving my son more than just like a hi, hello. It's like, hey, like, what do
Yeah.
You can always just tell, like, if he's really trying to,
Exactly.
if he really cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
putting in the effort.
Yeah. So I think that there's definitely a difference between introducing the new partner to the child and then getting to the level of, okay, now we're like doing outings together. Like, now, we're going to the park together, or now we're going to the museums, and like he's tagging along on some events with us and things like that, right? So I think that in the beginning you started out slow, when just to make sure that it's not a moot point and that there is a possibility of something like long term. But then later on I would just say, like, take it slow, probably.
For sure. There's definitely no clear-cut answer. 6 months, 1 year. It's really a good example of when parents should exercise their best judgment.
Yeah.
I'll point out two things she said too. I really liked that she said, one, her and her ex-husband co-parent well together.
Right.
Two, this new guy isn't pressuring her, so she has a good picker, is what we call that. So she doesn't have the very fighty, for lack of a better word, ex-husband and a new toxic man. So she has those two going for her. So good for you, Reddit lady.
Good for you.
I love that. And also, when it comes to sort of dating regulations, right, you want to sit there, learn about your new partner, right? And so at the beginning of a relationship, you're putting on your best face. I mean, I think most people do. I know I do. You got to trick them at first a little bit. Come on. So you want to make sure you've given it enough time to really know who this person is. Who's his family? Does he have a criminal record? If so, what kind? How long ago? A rap sheet. Check his social media. Is he out there posting crazy videos of doing stuff that your ex-husband might see and use against you in court in a modification at a later date? That could be something that I would look into and take into consideration.
Yeah, we've definitely had cases where, the old partner will come and file a modification against their baby mama or something like that, and they're like, okay, now they're dating this new guy. He's just like a walking red flag, and he's got all of, A, B, and C against the new boyfriend, and then now he's fighting for custody because A, B, and C presents a threat to the child, right? And so that's where we can kind of get concerned about that. But I mean, I think that if she's using her best judgment, she's got a good picker, I mean, she wants to see if he's going to jive with the child, I would say just kind of go for it. But I wouldn't say like, okay, now all of a sudden I'm going to, have you spend time with him without me. Like, that would be probably not the best judgment. Just take it slow, incrementally, I guess.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, you want to introduce him just to see kind of how they drive and whatnot. And so that also is a situation that's so specific to how your child is.
Yeah.
Every kid has a different temperament, predisposition, right? Are they sensitive? Are they going to be protective and try to scare them away at first? I could totally see myself doing that as a kid.
Yes. And what's crazy is that this kind of reminds me of this one story that basically it was a situation where her current court order said new boyfriend can't be around the child, right? And so at that time she was like, okay, that's totally fine because we're just dating, like, it's not an issue. And, I can be with my kid and I don't have to spend time with boyfriend at the time, right? But then what ended up happening was that she got pregnant, and then they were getting more serious, and then now they wanted to move in together. And so then it's like, okay, well, is that grounds for a modification? Because now we have an expecting child against, that she's sharing this child with somebody that the court order prevents this person from being around the other child. So there's going to come in time where she's wanting to exercise her time with, the first child. And then if she's living with the other, the second baby daddy, I guess you would say, that's violating the court order. So at that point, you have to get a modification and present the issue to the judge. And I think that if I was representing that person in court, I would just kind of be like, well, what has changed since the most recent court order? Are those concerns that were raised in the first court order no longer applicable here? So if the concern in the beginning was that maybe, he was abusing drugs or something like that, then at that point, like, is that still a concern here, when we do this modification? If not, then I think that why place that injunction, right? Like, why say, I don't think it would be necessary anymore to prevent the new boyfriend, now future fiance, future husband, whatever you want to call him, from being around the first child.
Right. And so whenever you're in court, or I tell my clients, this order ideally is supposed to be in place until your kid turns 18. Circumstances change and everything's subject to a modification, but it's important to try your best at least to think about things that you are adding or changing and modifying and being creative with, and to see how that could potentially kind of cause issues, or talk to your attorney about it, so that way you can go forward. And this is a prime example of that. Say, hey, you can't be around this guy I'm dating for 1 month. Okay, well, what if, it's 1 month in and, all right, what if I had an SPO? Yeah. So I have my kid right now, it's not a big deal. Well, eventually, what if we get married? And that's just too vague of an order. So you want to make sure your attorney goes through it and says, let's make some conditions in here, or
some conditions,
not so easily to violate.
As in, like, there could be a future possibility where these people get more serious, and what has to occur for the new boyfriend to be allowed to be around the child. And I remember reading an order one time that, he was like on probation or something, like the new boyfriend was, right? And the conditions were, he has to comply with his probation, he has to do A, B, and C. And then there was just a little bit of ambiguity between B and C. And then it just created grounds for a modification, because it's like, okay, well, is he allowed to now be around the child? Like, we needed some clarity, we needed some, just modifying of it, because now he really was not posing a threat to the child anymore. But mom was having to go super out of her way to make sure that she wasn't violating it. So, yeah, I think that's a good post. But okay, so here's a second one. Do you let your ex borrow things for the kids? So this weekend is my ex's with the kids, and he's informed me that they're going to a theme park for a company picnic. We have 2 kids, both under 3, and he's asked if he can borrow my double stroller for the kids. I want to be a nice co-parent, and I want the kids to be able to have a good time with their dad, but it upsets me that he wants to borrow my things. He never bought things for the kids when we were together, and still expects to borrow the things I purchased for the kids. And double strollers are not cheap. Am I being petty if I don't let him borrow it? Should I let him borrow the stroller, or should I tell him that he should buy his own? Oh my gosh, this is a good one. And I feel like this question comes up with car seats, but I've never heard it with a stroller. Like, usually the other parent will have their stroller or just not use a stroller at all. So I don't know. I think that if I was in that situation, I would just let him borrow the stroller, to be honest, because it's as frustrating as it is. It's about making sure that my child is comfortable at the theme park. And I guess, like, to me, I'm going to be asking, what's going to happen if I don't let him borrow the stroller? Is he going to be so prideful as to just have the kid walk? Or the kids, because there's 2 children. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah,
or prideful or cheap. He'd be like, well, not worth it. But I think, and this is an issue, it comes up a lot, and it's so particular with what items does he want to borrow. A stroller, right? That makes sense going to a theme park. I have the better stroller, whatever, take it. Yeah. I'd probably advise to do it too. But hey, you come back and you broke a wheel on it, you better fix it. Or else I'm going to be mad and you're never borrowing my things again.
Yeah, strollers are expensive.
They're not cheap.
They're like, you can definitely go to Walmart and land yourself a decent stroller, but I know a double stroller is expensive. And then if mom went out of her way and bought, the new Up a Baby $700 stroller, like, that is going to be kind of like, ooh, do I want him to borrow that one, or do like...
Yeah, no, it's like lending your friend a good pair of shoes. Yes. And you're like, are you going to give it back, first of all? And second of all, are you going to ruin them? Like, how much use is this stroller going to have, to where am I going to let you go and take 10 uses out at a theme park?
And I bet you she's thinking about those things, otherwise she wouldn't be asking them. Like, I think if it was like a one, hey, I'm just going to the store with them, like, let me borrow the stroller really quick, or something like that, then that's a different scenario.
Yeah, like use the basket. All right, buddy. No, get your own stroller. But theme park, I get that. And another... a thing I see a lot that people fight about, and I've even seen Amicus put it in their kind of evaluations, is diaper bags. That's a big one, right? So it's like, you go fill up diapers, not cheap either, and then he goes, and it's like borrowing a friend's car and not filling it up with gas when you return, right? He used all the diapers.
He used all the diapers.
Fill them back up. And so it's a huge one where because people will get into it, especially if you're going through a divorce or a
Yes.
custody fight, and they just want to, I'm going to use the last diaper, show him. You know what I mean? It's easy to do that. You're mad. Your emotions are running high. You're paying lawyer fees.
Yes.
This guy's doing that, and so...
It's so crazy. I mean, to be honest, like, it's just one of those situations where when I'm consulting with somebody that has these issues, I'm like, listen, like, lawyer to potential client, the answer is no. You don't have to let him borrow the stroller. You don't have to, let him take the last diaper. You don't even have to send him with diapers, send the child with diapers. But mom to mom, what is he going to do if you don't let him borrow those things?
Pick your battles.
What kind of situation is the child's going to be if the stroller is not borrowed, or if the diapers aren't taken, or if you don't pack the kid his favorite snack or his favorite toy that dad is probably not going to return,
Yeah.
with him. So I just want to make sure that my child is as comfortable as possible whenever, my child is with the other co-parent. So I would just say, man, I mean, it's hard. I think it depends. As silly as it sounds, it depends on the
Such a
stroller.
lawyer thing
but
to say, Gianni. Yeah.
I know, it depends. But I really think it depends on the stroller. I think that if I'm going to put my pride aside, because I have an expensive stroller, like, I'm just going to let him borrow the stroller. Because I probably, in my mind, think my co-parent's not going to go buy a stroller. Like, my kid's walking if there's not a stroller, so I'm going to let him borrow the stroller.
Exactly. And if you think about it, too, imagine this. You're in court, let's say 2 years after that, for whatever other circumstance that could possibly change.
Right.
And he's going to go up to court. Oh, she never helps me, doesn't do anything. You have that picture of you dropping that stroller off, and you say, whenever I let you borrow that stroller at the theme park, buddy.
Look at this nice little uploaded photo from you on Facebook. Take my kid to Disneyland. That's my stroller. What do you mean I don't help you, kind of thing?
Take a picture of that receipt, too, okay? Always take pictures.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, no, the things that we hear, guys, but I mean, I think that this is good. I'm excited for our first podcast episode, and let us know what else you want to hear us talk about. I mean, we do it all when it comes to family law. So if there's a question that you have about divorce, about custody, about child support, you can go to our Linktree and submit your inquiries. And, it's all anonymous. We don't know who's posting and all of that. And so none of this is legal advice. It's really just us kind of giving our feedback and, like, the stories that we've heard and all of that. So thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait till our next one.
Yes, I'm so excited. Bye.
Bye.